So welcome everyone to yet another video from PyNetlabs. So earlier in one of our video, we actually received a comment regarding the issue with the BGP link flapping. So today's video is specifically about the link flapping issue. So in this video, we will be looking like what exactly is the link flapping issue and if say you are a network engineer and how we can basically troubleshoot it. Okay, so let's start with the topic. So as I said, today we are looking into the BGP link flapping issue. So it's a very common issue that you can find in your network. So this happens when the link is coming up and down randomly. Okay, so this is something that is known as link flapping issue. That means you might be having a router and the router might be connected to, let's say, number of interfaces, and one of your interfaces kind of like acting strange, and the reason behind this could be quite a lot of things, like can be different things, like you might have configured the BGP in the wrong way. Say you might have configured the wrong network address, or you might have configured the wrong neighbor address. You might have mistakenly put up the wrong AS number, or say you might be having some hardware issues. Okay, so I will list all the issues that could give rise to the link flapping issue. But in general, link flapping generally happens because of quite a lot of reasons. So let's say it could be because of the hardware reason. So you could be having some hardware failure. So the router or the device that you might be using may not have enough resources. Like it could be having something like low memory, because of which the processes are not able to be complete. And you might also have like something like low CPU, because of which the specific router may not be able to handle a very big amount of information, and that's why it is like going up and down. So that could be another reason. And then you could have like some BGP misconfiguration.
If you enjoyed the content of the video, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel.
So might be possible that in some of your router you might have accidentally configured some BGP commands wrong way, like you didn't notice and you did in a haste. You might have typed all the wrong commands, and that could also leads to the BGP link flapping issue. Then you might have some interface related configuration. So you might be having some interface related configuration. That means, let's say, the MTU might be mismatched. So you might have changed the MTU or something like that. So there are a couple of things that you can actually look into. And then there is also something that is known as the faulty cable lines, or we can say the cables that you might have connected might have gone wrong, and because of which the links are continuously flapping up and down. So this is some of the reasons through which can give rise to the link flapping issue here. Now, when it comes to how we can identify, so there are a couple of things. So first thing, you can like check the router. So we can say like I can basically check the router's configuration. I can go to my network routers devices, and I can one by one check them. And I can use any analytical tool. Okay, so I can use like SNMP or something like that to gather information about my network. Okay, so these are some of the ways in which we can basically go ahead and check the link flapping issues in our lab. So just in order to show you guys like how it is actually done and how you can go ahead and troubleshoot it, I have created a network here. So let me share this. So this is my network that I have created, and as you can see on the left side, I have somewhat like three routers, and the all the three routers are currently being member of AS200, and on the middle I have AS300, and I only have one router, that is like router number 4, US4, and on the far right hand side I have AS400, and in which I only have one router, that is my router number 5. And here every router has two loopback interfaces. So these loopback interfaces are configured to demonstrate like this is the client network, or this is the network that follows after the routers. Okay, and as you can see, we have all the three routers. So if I just pull up any one router here, So let's say, let me start with my router number 5. So I have already somewhat configured my routers here. So if I just go to my router number 5, and let me just pull up it over here. And if I just run the command like show IP interface brief, okay, so you can see like all the interfaces that I have. So currently I do have a link flapping issue on my network. So I have configured my network in a way that one of my router is generating a link flap issue, and that is kind of like escalated to every router. So say I have intentionally configured my router number 1 such that it will be sharing, or it is like one of the interfaces is going up and down. Okay, so out of many reasons, I manually configured my router number 1, in which my router number 1's interface keeps shutting down every now and then once again it is enabled automatically. So router number 1 is kind of like giving the link flapping issue here. But if I check on the other routers, you might notice like we don't have any such issue. So as you can see, my router here is working properly. And if I just run the command like show IP BGP, you might be able to see that I'm kind of like getting all the updates from my router. So I'm kind of like, if I'm talking about router number 5, I'm receiving all the information, network information from all the rest of my router. And if I run the command like show IP BGP summary, and here you can see that I'm currently being neighbor here with my router number 4. And if I just bring up my router number 4 as well, so my router number 4 is also working fine. There is no issues so far. So let me show you router number 4 as well. And here also, let me show you the interfaces. Okay. These are my interfaces. And if I run the command like show IP BGP, so I'm also receiving all the BGP updates. Okay. So I'm kind of like receiving the network information from every single network on my, from every single, I'm receiving updates from every single router on my network here. Okay. So to show you the BGP configuration that I did, let me run like show run section BGP. So this is my BGP configuration that I did on my router number 1. As you can see, like this is my BGP 300. And here I have like 2 networks that I'm being advertising. So this is kind of like my client network that I want the other routers to learn about. And here, as you can see, I have configured the neighbors. So from the configuration itself, we can see that we haven't misconfigured our routers. All the configuration is same. So if I say like my router number 4 is kind of like connected to 2 routers, that is router number 3 and router number 5. And here, as you can see, the neighbor commands are exactly proper. That means I have defined the exact neighbor address, and I have also mentioned the AS here. Okay. So link flapping is like on a normal basis, you won't be receiving any kind of update, like you won't be receiving any kind of error. So that makes it a little bit hard to capture. Like you won't be able to understand like what could be the issues. So say that you use some analytical tools on your network and you came to realize like your router number 5 is kind of like acting strange. Okay, so what you do, you just go ahead into your router number 5 and you run the command like show IP BGP summary. Okay, so this is like the information, like the summary of the BGP process that is being going on. So this is my router ID, and this is my local AS, like my router number 5 belongs to AS 400, and this is the BGP table version 250. Okay, and as we can see, we are kind of like receiving 9 network updates. So I'm kind of like receiving information about the 9 prefixes. So I'm receiving information about the 9 prefixes. Okay, so I have like total like routes to 9 different network. Okay, and like here we can see like the amount of memory that my device is using. But to identify whether we are having a link flapping issue or not, the thing that we generally mention or generally notice here is something that is the table version. So here, table version is just a number that increments every time there is a change in the path, or say if there is any change in the network prefixes. Okay, so every time my router learns about a new network, or every time my router learns or receives an update about new network prefix, the table version increments. So right now, as you can see on the description here, I have received 7 prefixes. So throughout my network, I have received 7 prefixes on my router number 5. And so far the table version is 250. So just in order to get something like 7 prefixes, my table version is quite high. And if I just give it a little while, okay, so we can clearly see here like I am being neighbor with my router since for almost around like 2 hours. And in these 2 hours, I have received somewhat like 250 uh, table entries. Okay, so now we were like going through the configuration. So we saw like the table version was 250, and in a moment, like in some time, let's say somewhat around like half minute or something, the table version did increase. And you can see a clear difference here. Like earlier, I only received prefix 7. I have received prefix like 7 prefixes throughout my network, but now it says like I am receiving 9 prefixes. Okay, so what I can say, like I can pretty much judge here from this very information that my neighbor 4 or router number 4 is kind of like sharing some updates and then it taking it back. Okay, so that's why there is a fluctuation here. So sometimes I'm receiving 7 prefixes, sometimes I'm receiving 9 prefixes, and in that way my table version keeps on increasing. Okay, now to check this configuration, like now you realize like your router number 4 is kind of like sharing you the updates and it not taking it back. So that is something that is happening, repeating. So router number 4 sharing you some prefixes, and in a while it is also taking it back. So let's see. So let's get back to router number 4 and let's try to check like what could be the issue here. So I am minimizing this thing and I'm going back to my router number 4. Let's see what does the router number 4 has to say. And in order to identify the link flapping issue, this simple command like show IP BGP summary is very useful. So right now, as we can see, I'm kind of like receiving some updates. So here, this is my information. So I'm receiving my router number 4 is kind of like neighbor with my router number 3 and router number 5. And here we can see like from router number 3, the third router, I'm kind of like receiving the 7 prefixes. Okay. And from my router number 5, I'm kind of like receiving only 2 prefixes. So that good. So as we can clearly see, my router number 5 only has 2 networks to share. So that's why I'm receiving 2 prefixes from my router number 5. So we can say like that's okay. But here on router number 3, I am kind of like receiving the 7 prefixes. So if I just give it a little while, so let's wait for some time here and let me run the command once again. Okay, still the same. So it's gonna take some time. Okay, fine. So I can do one thing, I can check on my BGP configuration. So in order to determine like whether I have configured anything wrong or not, we can like pull up the BGP configuration that we have made, that we have configured on this very router. And from this configuration, I can troubleshoot whether I have made some mistakes or not. So looking at the configuration, we can clearly see like my BGP configuration is totally valid. And I haven't made any misconfiguration on this router number 4. Now, since we have already checked router number 5, now the next thing here is that we have to move on towards the router number 3. Okay, so let's say if I run the command once again, show IP BGP summary. So as you can see, like once again, my table number increased. So earlier, sometimes before, it was 256, but right now it is showing something like 260. So if I just scroll down a little bit towards the up, I think I should have that information. So it was like 218.09. I received somewhat like 256. That table version is 256. I was still receiving 7 prefixes. And if I just go down here towards the bottom, it is nearly around like 1 minute, and in that 1 minute my table version has increased. So definitely some information has been shared and some information has been withdrawn on my R4. So I can see my R4 is working fine. So maybe the problem here might lie with the router number 3. So once again, we are heading back to the third router, and this is my third router. So let me just get inside my router. Let me check the interfaces. So when I run this command, I can see like these are the 2 interfaces that I have configured on my router, physical interfaces connecting to router 4 and router 2. And these are 2 of my loopback interfaces that I have configured as kind of like a client network. So let's start the troubleshooting. So the first thing that I would do is I would go with the show IP BGP summary. And here, as we can see, okay, fine. So here I have received 5 prefixes, and the table version here is even higher than the rest, and it says something like 560. Okay, fine. So let's see. Let me check the BGP configuration. So I'm going on to the running configuration. I'm pulling up my BGP configuration, and let's see if we have made some mistakes onto router number 3. So let's say, so this is my AS200. Okay, fine. So my router number 3 is neighbor with 2, is kind of like advertising 2 network, that is the loopback interfaces. Okay, fine. No issues up to here. And it is neighbor with remote AS of 200. So it is iBGP peer with my router number 2. Okay, and for iBGP peer, I have configured router number 3 as the next hop step. And here I have also formed an eBGP peering with my router number 4. Okay, so if I just look onto the summary table, I think there is a slight increment here. So we have like 560, 558, and if I just scroll down now, I have something like 566. So definitely there is an increment. So from router number 2, I'm kind of like receiving only 3 prefixes. And from router number 4, I'm kind of like receiving 4 prefixes. So that makes sense. Okay, so I'm receiving 4 prefixes from my router number 1 and router number 4, sorry. So router number 4 is sharing its own network prefixes, and along with it is also sharing router number 5's network prefixes. So we are going to wait a while, and we will like check here whether the values do change or not. Okay. So we have to give it a while, and we have to check it. Like definitely the information did go up. Okay. So as you can see, just before I noticed, like with table version 566, I was receiving 3 prefixes. Now I just after a few time, the table version is 568, and now I'm receiving 5 prefixes. Okay, so this is the troubleshooting here. That is how you can do. So here I can clearly see like there should be something wrong with my router number 2 here. So there must be something wrong with my router number 2 here. So the final process is we go back to the router number 2. And here, as you can see, we are receiving some issues here. Okay. So as you can see, I'm received some update like process 200. It is regarding the OSPF 5 ADG change, adjacency change. So process for 200, I have configured OSPF 200 on my router number 2. And the neighbor here 1.1.2, 2.1, that is router number 1, has gone from full to done. Okay, so I'm constantly receiving information regarding the OSPF adjacency. Okay, so something's happening on my router number 1, as we can clearly judge from this notification that is telling me like the neighborship between the router number 1 and router number 2 is changing rapidly. Okay, but here we can somehow troubleshoot it. Let's see. So if I run the command show IP BGP summary, so here I can see I'm only neighbor here with my router number 3. I haven't configured any neighborship with my router number 1. And here we can see like I am receiving 6 prefixes. So that makes sense. So I'm receiving 2 from my 5, 2 from my router number 4, 2 from my router number 3. And these are all coming towards my router number 2. And here we can clearly see like the 6 prefixes, it's okay. So there is no issues. And the problem here is that there is something wrong with my router number 1. So like I said, in order to generate this link flapping issue, I have configured kind of like an applet on my router number 1, which automatically is disabling my interface gig 0x0. And after a while, it is automatically enabling the interface as well. So as you can see, if I just pull up this onto my screen here, you can see like clearly mentioned here, like it says the interface gig 0x0 change state to down. Okay, and if you just look up ahead and if you just wait for a while, here you can see that this is the applet that I have configured. Now you can see my interface date came up. Okay, so in order to recreate the link flapping issue, I have configured a script, configured an event manager script or applet on my router number 1, which automatically shuts down the interface, and after a while it automatically enables the interface, as you can see on the screen. So this process keeps on happening, and when this is happening, what is the result? Router number 1 is kind of like sharing the updates to router number 2. Then for a while it is not sharing. It is like stopping the sharing of the updates. And this flapping issue is kind of like updated throughout the network. So from router number 1, it went to 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So you can pretty much imagine like a one faulty router can disrupt your whole entire network. Okay. So this is the challenge here. So whatever information my router number 1 is doing, it is basically being redirected or let's say forwarded through all of the router. Now what I'm going to do, let me just disable my applet here. Okay, so I have disabled the applet here. So if I just give it a while, fine, still have to remove it. Okay, fine. So fine, I guess the configuration has been removed. So I just disable the applet that I've created. Now if I just wait for a while and let's check it on the farthest of our router, that is the router number 5. So if I just go back to my router number 5 and if I check my BGP summary, so even after a while, the working will be fine. So as you can see, I'm receiving all the 9 prefixes here. And if I run the command like show IP BGP summary, so here also you can see that I am receiving only 9 prefixes. And if I just give it a little while, so my table version is 276. Now this table version will stay 276 for the entire time. If there is any changes, if there is new prefix or something like that, only then this table will increment and the number of prefix that I'm receiving will also be the same. Okay, so even if I run it after a while, if I run this command, so here you can see like my table version is the same. So this is one thing. So you can, whenever you are going to troubleshoot the link flapping issue, the one command that I suggest is that you go ahead and run the command like show IP BGP summary. Okay, so it might take a while. So the thing that you have to notice is that you have to observe a prefix that has been shared. So in basically when you do run this command, you have to observe the prefixes you are receiving. Okay. And the other thing is the table version. So is the table version, if the table version is changing rapidly, like during a short interval of time, like during like 1 minute or 2 minutes, the table version keeps on changing and you're receiving very small number of prefixes. So that could give the indication that there might be a link flapping issue on your network. And the way to troubleshoot is that you have to manually go to every single router and you have to determine, like say, I have somewhat like 5 routers. So what I did for the troubleshooting, I started with the 5th router. So I might be running some analytical tool in my network. And from that, I get to know like my router number 5 is acting strange. So I get into my router number 5 and I checked it. And I realized like I'm receiving like my router number 4 is kind of like sharing some updates and withdrawing those updates. So I checked on my router number 4. And like this, by checking each and every router, I get to the source. Okay, and from that source, I get to know like what could be the issue for the link flapping thing. So the command that basically going to help you is the show IP BGP summary. So this is the command that you can run on your router to check like from which routers you are receiving the most prefixes and what is the table version. Okay, so that's all for today's video, guys. And if you think like you want to learn about something new or say some other thing, do mention us in the comment. Okay, so thank you everyone. See you in the next video.